Hello everyone. In today of Command versus DCS, we're going to be exploring the effectiveness of the L39C. This should be kind of cool. So I'm actually going to pick up right where we left off from last time. Our beautiful little Yak-52 over here has just detected the enemy assets right over here, and we're going to go ahead and engage them using an L39. Now, as you probably are well aware, the L39 does not normally have the ability in Command to carry weapons. It can only do quote training. The ZA model can in Command actually deploy weapons. So we're actually going to have to modify our payload once we get airborne. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start pretty much exactly where we left off. It's 925. Weather's basically the same conditions. And we're going to go ahead and deploy our Albatross. So he's already ready to go and launching individually, and he's doing his thing. So go ahead and fast forward time. We'll get ourselves to just about right there. The Yak-52, of course, is continuing to orbit. And he should be in the air in just a moment. Continue flying around in circles. Oh, pause. Haha. Got to be careful with that time acceleration sometimes. So here he is. He's sitting about 1,800 feet. We'll go ahead and give him a manual altitude of 3,000 feet. We're also going to go ahead and kind of send him on his way, but more importantly, we're going to go to Weapons. We're going to click right here, click on Add Weapon Record, and we're going to go ahead and add the rockets that we normally would have at our disposal inside the program. This looks like a pretty good set right here. I'm going to go ahead and pick that. I'm going to go ahead and pick one of those, and we should be good to go as soon as we unpause. Let's go ahead and unpause. Take a look. There it is. We now have these beautiful 57mm rockets and drop tanks. What? And it's gone. So there we go. So now we're carrying 32 S5K 57mm rockets. These things are so tiny. They're so cute. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and order him to attack the enemy encampment that the Yak-52 is keeping an eye on at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and under Missions Control, Weapon Release Authorization, I'm going to go ahead and say that it can engage any contact. I'm going to say I can ignore it, and I'll leave it at pessimistic. So now all I have to do is click on him, select the target of my interest, which is the guerrilla camp, let go. And he's going to go take care of things on his own. Of course, we could get him up to a little bit higher of a speed here, but 343 knots is moving pretty quick. Taking a look, it looks like he started at about 1,000 kilograms of fuel or so. So we'll kind of keep that in mind when we get over to DCS a little later on. You can see the Yak-52 is just doing air donuts right now, just kind of chugging along. All right, here he comes for his attack run. Zoom in a little bit, take a better look. All right, we're going to go down to real time. He's coming in. He's coming in. I'm going to let him have control out of his altitude in case he feels the need to change it at all. He's diving. Coming down pretty aggressively there. In any moment, rockets should be released. There they go. Send it back home, and let's see how they do. Ha! So just kind of did some damage. I'm sure all those guerrillas right now are shooting AKs and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and see how well it did. By the way, we're looking at about 909 kilograms of fuel so far. So if I go over to losses and expenditures, I'm sure there's going to be tons of losses and expenditures in here when we go to take a look from other times I've used this saved game. Let's see, it cost us 32 rockets, no losses. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other side real quickly at Georgia. And let's see if anything actually got damaged from that attack. Looks like something did. Looks like some tents took some shrapnel damage. That wasn't that effective. So we'll have to go pop over to DCS next and kind of see how that plays up. Everyone, we're sitting inside our nice comfortable L39C here, ready to go. Basically what we're going to do is try to reenact everything we just did over in Command with a couple little kind of catches, so to speak, on account of the fact that there are some differences. We'll discuss those on the way. Before takeoff, I'm going to go ahead and make sure all my armament and everything along those lines is pre-set up, and I'm also going to make sure I'm firing 2 rockets at a time. Alright, we're all set with that. Go ahead and release the brakes, get us going. Just like on the Yak-52, if we want to get this thing to go, we have to actually kind of kick it over and then engage the brake with that little handle that's kind of on the back of the stick. Just it's a little different. It's nothing too crazy. Alright. This thing accelerates pretty quick on the ground. It's a pretty aggressive turn for any aircraft. Continue accelerating. I can just imagine how much of a shock this must be to Western pilots when they first have to kind of get the hang of it. You're probably wondering why we opted to go with the L39C instead of the ZA. The only simple reason is the armament control panel on this thing is so much easier to operate, and I really, really appreciate that. Alright, just a little more braking, there we go. We'll request permission for takeoff, although I guarantee they won't give it to us until we're already on the runway, so we're just going to kind of keep on rolling. Approach is clear in both directions. I think we're all set with that. Let's keep going. We're not flying with anybody in the back seat today. It's just going to be us up front, which is kind of simple. All right, flaps are in the correct takeoff position. I'm not going to do anything fancy as far as lights or anything like that. All right, I'm going to drive myself onto the runway here. All right, so pretty good. Of course, you can clear for takeoff because I'm already on the runway. I always love it. Start straightening my wheel out. All right, he's giving us permission to go. And I know from the real world, when they give us permission to go, it's time to go. So let's go. You're not going to be using full throttle for takeoff. You're going to be using mostly full throttle because you do not want to exceed the top speed of the engine. Alright, we're using Western gauges here, so we're looking to lift the nose up at about 110 knots. Alright, looks good. Let's go ahead and lift that nose up. Man, this thing glides nice. And that's it. Plane comes up. Landing gear gets retracted. We do not have to put the landing gear into the neutral position in this, unlike most Russian aircraft that I've encountered. Alright, once you get a little bit of altitude, go ahead and press the button to bring up the flaps. Give it a second to kind of settle. Alright, now we can start heading our way up north. Get a great little view there on the right of kind of the runway as it leaves, but all the trees and buildings have disappeared, which is kind of cool. Alright, so our general heading here is going to be about 30 degrees, and we're going to do the best we can to try to get there in as much of a hurry as we can pretty much manage. Unfortunately, and this is the first big difference between command and over here, is the fact that we do not travel nearly as quickly. In command, it was predicting almost 300 knots for cruise speed for us, with 400 as being like our military speed. We're not even going to be able to come close to that, even if I give it completely full throttle. You know, we're being pretty tough on the engines right now, and we really don't need to damage anything before we get to the place where we have to actually do the shooting. So I'm going to go ahead and climb myself up to about 3,000 feet, just like we did before, and then we're going to proceed. Now, I believe the Yak-52 that was actually called this insurgent camp in is still on site, and he's been nice enough to throw a smoke bomb out the window to kind of help us find his target. So we're definitely going to keep an eye out for that, because we have no laser designation, we have no J-tag, we basically have nothing to go on. So we're going to have to rely on the good old-fashioned eyeballs and things like that. Okay, so as we climb, let's talk a little bit about this gun sight. This is a pretty old-school gun sight. This is an ASP. You probably recognize it from the MiG-21. No surprise, it's the same thing. Basically, on this side, you can manually set the deviation of the angle that you want to. If you take a look at the manual for this airplane, they recommend about 2.5 degrees depression angle. Personally, I'm going to leave it alone. And the other thing you can do is you can actually use the gyro mode to help you guide the actual weapons and know when to release the weapons. There's our nice cruise position there. Go ahead and level off at about 3,000, reduce the power back to something a little bit more palatable. We are in a hurry here, so I'm not going to go too crazy with trying to keep everything within the correct settings. This isn't the Yak-52. Anyway, like I was saying, so what we can actually do is dial in the size of the target we want to attack. This is meters, by the way. And then we can go down here and dial in the range in which we want to attack it, which is actually pretty cool. I've actually set it at the peak range right now. So for example, if we had a target that was 10, if our target is on both sides of this little circle here, that would mean that would be the time to actually engage it if we were using gyro mode. We actually flip the gyro on for a second here. And you can see at those kind of ranges, it doesn't really deflect that far down the glass, which again, is pretty cool how that actually works. So pretty simple, works both for attacking air targets and it works for attacking ground targets, which is kind of handy. I'm going to leave it in fixed mode. We're dealing with rockets here, so I don't need to get too fancy with anything like that anyway. So anyway, we're going to be flying on. In the real world, we're probably being talked onto the target. Although one of the limitations of Eastern weapons is it tends to be very, very tricky to coordinate between air and ground units. They use different radios and things like that, and it just makes the whole process a little bit trickier than it needs to be. Notice we're not anywhere near 300 knots yet. You know, we're apparently going putt-putt along here. So at any point, I can see we have a little airfield that we saw a little bit earlier. It's sitting there on the left. So we know that we're going to be on our target zone very, very shortly. I'm going to go ahead and pop up a little higher. Again, bleed a little bit of that speed. I need to be able to see farther out. Keep in mind, you can't really see out the front of this thing. You can only see out the sides of it. That's good right there, about 3,500 feet. Just give myself just a little bit more room. And now we're just about to the search area where we're supposed to be looking for some kind of red smoke or something like that to designate where our target's going to be. Then we'll go ahead and activate everything live and do the deed. Alright, so far I've got absolutely nothing. So this is a really, really big difference between command and DCS. It's just because we can spot it in command doesn't mean we have perfect command and control with all the rest of your units. I'm actually going to swing to my right just a tiny bit. Alright, so we're either looking for a Yak-52 orbiting or we're looking for a giant smoke trail or something along those lines. And I do not see either yet. Of course, now we're almost up to 4,000 feet, so we're getting a little high. The idea here is to make this a surprise attack, but honestly, it's not going to be much of a surprise once you hear me coming. Still don't see any of those items. I don't see smoke, and I certainly don't see a Yak-52 doing donuts. So I'm going to kind of swing around this way and see what we can do as far as finding that out. If I tip my nose down a little bit, I can see something. Nope, I got nothing. Nothing at all. So again, you can immediately see the differences between DCS and command. Obviously, if this were, you know, like an AV-8, we could go ahead and use JTAC to literally laser guide our target for us. But unfortunately, we got to keep things manual here, and it definitely makes it interesting, but it also makes it exceedingly challenging. Looking, and I'm not seeing anything. Supposedly he was going to mark the target area with smoke, but I just don't see it. Wish we could zip our heads outside real quick or something like that, but I don't think that's really fair. Let me reset my view here so I can see a little bit better. Missions like this, especially ground attack, I don't actually like the track IR as much. I prefer that much more if you're doing air-to-air stuff, or you're trying to do something that's a little bit more scenic. I've got nothing. I don't see the Yak-52, and I certainly don't see what I'm using. Wish I had a radar or something like that. Of course, if we were on the radio, they'd say, "Oh, we see you." Wait a minute. Ah, there's our target area. Alright, let's do it. Safety off. Air brake on. I think I see some trucks. Alright, it's going to be difficult. Let's pick one. Looks pretty good to me. Ooh, a little low. Alright, whoa! We gotta get out of here. I was just surprised there. Apparently, they're shooting back today. Pull back, I wasn't expecting. Honestly, that basically jump scared me. I was not expecting that. I believe we still have a couple rockets left. You can actually see them little red tips there. I see nothing as far as the smoke I was promised or anything along those lines. Chances are that smoke grenade's already gone out and the Yak-52's already flown home. So, oh, that was convenient. I see exactly where that is. So there's definitely some fire from the tree line, so I'll try to put some rockets down in the tree line as well. So already this has been a little bit different than the way things played out in command, but again, I'm okay with that. Just makes things interesting. Try not to damage my engine if I can help it here. So we know that that's the clearing right there. Come swing around. I'm interested in basically hosing all of the tree line there. We came in a little hot at that last one. I think I should have been a little more careful, but like I said, I was legitimately surprised to get suddenly shot at, and I'm sure if this were a real-world situation, our pilot would feel pretty much the same way. Looks like there's another truck right there. There's like something right there. I can't quite make out what that is. Give it a rocket just in case. That's a fuel tank or something. Watch out. Oh, apparently I hit an infantryman. Oh, you did! I guess he was a little surprised. And I'm out of rockets! That's it! Okay. So, I'm just going to kind of take a look at the target area right there real quickly. That went pretty well this time. I think the key here is keep your throttle up. Don't use the air brakes unless you absolutely need to use speed brakes, I should say. They're not air brakes, they're trucks. So I can see a couple burning vehicles. I'm sure I accidentally hit some infantry and stuff like that. So we definitely did better in DCS than we did in command, with the exception of how incredibly difficult it was to try to locate the targets. Again, if it didn't have a giant circle around it, I probably never would have seen those targets, much like you would. Oh, look who we just found. And there's our beautiful Yak-52 just sort of chilling there. Thanks for nothing, buddy. That would have been really nice if you let me know. Oh, there he is. It's still cool, though. Alright, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. Again, I can say the rockets work a little better in DCS, Of course, in the real world, you never would have been quite as reckless as I was, because that was machine gun fire. What if they had a man pad or something like that? That could have ended way worse. But they still worked actually fairly well, and I think that's the best rocket trick I've ever done. And of course, could try this with cluster bombs, and then I'd be embarrassing myself. Enjoy!